All right, I want to welcome all of you, and I appreciate everyone who's come today to honor JR. We've been married for 31 years, and a lot of those years were really wonderful years. We had some fun times, as you could see through the videos. My two granddaughters put that together, and he had a blast with these two girls. They could make him do anything, tell him to do anything, and he would do it. Because he loved his grandkids, and he was a jokester in himself. He would pull pranks on anybody. There was a lot of pranks he pulled over his years. He had a love of food. Everywhere he went, he was like, okay, are we gonna eat? Can we stop and eat? Can we go? We would come up from Wilmington, and at 8 o'clock at night, I'm hungry, can we stop and eat? And I'm like, we just stopped and ate. And so he just loved food and loved to eat. Huh?
He would only take a bite of it.
Yeah, he would get a candy bar and it'd take him 4 days to eat it. He would get pig's feet. We would go to Virginia Beach, and there was a little place that we stopped, and he would go in and get pickled pig's feet and eat them, and I would be grossed out.
Go down to the beach, get, what's it, Pollard's chicken.
Yeah, we eat Pollard's chicken when we go to Virginia Beach. It was always Pollard's chicken. He was a hard worker. He worked as much as he could and wherever he could. He had some health issues, but he wouldn't even stop when he had the health issues. He kind of worked through them and just kept on going. He said, I've got to work. And the beach, he loved going to the beach. He loved taking these kids. We would take them down, and I would say, just get your feet in, just only your feet. And I would turn back around, and there was 3 of them, and they would be soaking wet every
Middle of January.
time. Yeah, in January, February, they didn't care. He loved his beer. He drank Coors beer. I mean, it was, he always had a 6-pack, and he would finish that, and if I bought a 12-pack, he'd finish the 12-pack, so I learned just to only buy a 6-pack, just so he wouldn't drink anymore. So he was a character, and he was a loving husband, and he loved all of his grandchildren. He always, even in the nursing home, he would ask me about Christopher, which is my oldest grandson, and his family, and he would ask about my niece that lived down in North Carolina, and my aunt Madeline. He would ask how they was, because we went down and visited them. And he would ask, I can't even think, he would ask about my aunt and uncle Floyd and Nancy A.G., and he just would remember until he couldn't, until he didn't, until he just, yeah. So I just, that's about all I really have to say, other than it's sweet and sorrowful to see him go. So, is there anyone else that would like to say anything about him? Come up and say anything? If not, I'm gonna turn it over to one of his best friends that stayed with him probably through thick and thin. He's got some things he wants to say, and I'm gonna let him close with prayer, and then we're gonna have one song play for him. Thank you. Barton?
He's gonna play a video first, he said.
Oh, he's gonna play video first.
Give me just a little more time, and I'll surely grow. Give me just a little more time, and I'll surely grow. Life's too short to make a mistake. Let's think of each other and hesitate. Young and impatient we may be, there's no need to act foolishly. If we part, our hearts won't forget it. Years from now, we'll surely regret it. Give me just a little more time, and I'll love surely grow. Give me just a little more time, and I'll love surely grow. You're young, and you're in a hurry. You're eager for love, but don't you worry. We both want the sweetness in life, but these things don't come overnight. Don't give up, 'cause love seems slow. Girl, we're gonna succeed with another blow. Just give me just a little more time, and I'll surely grow. Baby, please, baby, baby, please, baby. Love is that mountain we must climb. Let's climb it together, your hand in mine. We haven't known each other too long, but the feeling I have is oh so strong. I know we can make it, there's no doubt. We owe it to ourselves to find it out. Just give me just a little more time, and I'll surely grow. Give me just a little more time, and I'll surely grow. Give me just a little more time, and I'll surely grow. Baby, please, baby.
I love beat music, always have and I always will. There ain't no other kind of music in the world that gives me quite the thrill. When I hear 60-minute man and walking up a one-way street, he's up on the roof, he's under the boardwalk, summertime's calling me. Beach music. Beach music. I love beach music, 'cause I was born with it in my bones. I learned to shag on the beach with the salt in the air and the sand at my feet. Yeah, ooh, Miss Grace, 3921 for the shade. What kind of fool do you think I am when forever and ever it will
Hello, everybody. I'm Barton Reynolds. Bobby and I went to high school together, and that last picture, that was Bobby. You never knew what was coming out of his mouth, where it was coming out at. You could be in church and he'd do something like that. But that was Bobby. Alan went to school with Bobby also. I'm by far not a preacher. It's the first time I've ever done this. But he was a good friend. We started out years ago. I was asking how long they've been married. He said 31 years. Well, my wife and I have been married 32, almost 33. So when y'all got married and I got married, Bobby and I just kind of drew apart. We didn't run around like we did before because we were married again. And just want to let you know, Bobby, he used to mess around and run around and had a good time. The women loved him. He loved the women. But he told me one day, he called me, he says, I think I found one. I said, really? He said, yeah, her name's Diane. He said, she's good to me. And he says, she can put up with my stuff. And I said, well, good for you, Bobby. So I just wanted you to know that he told me that. He said he found the right one. But I'm going to get my reading specs on. There's one thing, I heard this at my grandma's funeral years ago. The pastor there said, death is like going on a cruise. And my brother may remember this. I don't know if he does or not. He said, death's like going on a cruise. When you're getting on a cruise and you're getting ready to cross the ocean, people are crying to see you go. But when you get on the other side, people are cheering and laughing and throwing leis on you, flowers and everything, and welcoming you there. That's kind of like death, and that stuck with me for years. But it makes sense. It's sad to see them go, but if they go to heaven, which I know Bobby is, because Diane called me the other night, she had a little conversation with him, and he accepted Christ, which I think that's wonderful that he did that, because he and I talked about it, and all he knew about religion at the time was you could have more than one wife if you were a Mormon. But, and I said, Bobby, no. That ain't the way it's supposed to be. So, but anyway, he was a good friend for years and years. And just a little bit of the past history. We worked for Southwest Construction back in the day, and he was a backhoe operator, and I was just old laborer. And on the days that it rained and we couldn't work, we'd go to work up at Lakeside Vault. That's where he worked at most of his younger years and burying people. And that was unusual. But, and he also helped me get married. He and his first wife got married, and they went to Eden and got married, and he told me how to do it, and I didn't know whether to kill him then or what, because mine didn't turn out very good, and his didn't either. So he also, we both went through divorces about the same time. He went through I didn't know he was going through a divorce. I was going through a divorce, and I called him, and his ex answered the phone, and she said, me and Bobby are split up. I said, what? And she says, yeah, he's having a hard time. Why don't you give him a call and maybe you can go out and have a beer. So I called him. We went to Bob's place, if any of you know where that is, down in Vinton. Just a redneck bar. And it was all downhill from there. Because we started going out probably four nights a week, minimum 4 nights a week. And we ended up going to, anybody knows now, it's Sheets is now down here in Hollins. It was called February's. We would go down there probably at least 4 nights a week and just going in. We had a good time. Everybody in there knew us. And Bobby was always he was a nut. I'm going to tell you what, you couldn't keep from laughing when you're around him. And by going to February's and the different bars and stuff, all the girls loved him. I mean, he was a magnet. He was a chick magnet. But he was a hard worker, as Diane said. I had never known that man to not work. And when he went through his cancer and he was working for the underground locators, he would go out and he'd work twice the amount of tickets as these younger guys. There was nothing wrong with them, just too lazy to work. And Bobby would take the tickets and work them. He just worked. He worked 7 days a week, 365 days a year. But and I worked with him, and I know how hard he worked. So I'm not saying I did, but well, I don't know. I don't have anything else written down. I hated to write stuff down. My wife told me because I'm getting dementia anyway. I can't remember squat. But he was a good guy, and I hate to see him go downhill like he did. But in the nursing home, those poor women over there, oh my gosh. I don't know if they're glad to see him go or sad to see him go because he'd always make them bust a gut. But he was a mess, and every time I'd go in there, he wanted me to bring him either a Big Mac and a fry and a Dr. Pepper from McDonald's, or go to Texas Tavern and get him a bowl of chili and a cheesy Western. So I'd get him one of the two. And he, half the time wore half of it, and I'd have to feed him sometimes. But, you know, he would say stuff to those girls down there, and I'm like, Bobby, you can't talk like that to these girls. You don't know what they'll put in your food. And then he always wanted a Trump hat. Stop by Boone's Mill and get me a Trump hat. Well, what'd you do with the other one? I don't know. They stole it. I said, all right, I'll get you one. So I get him another one. Then he'd call me up. Give me a Trump hat. I said, what in the world are you doing with these hats? And finally he found one or two of them. I said, these girls are throwing them in the trash because they're not really Trump people. But anyway, he was a catbird, and I don't know what else to say about him, but I love you. I'm sorry to see you go, and I hate it. I'm gonna miss my old friend. Can't pick up a phone and call you, even though when I called you in the past few weeks, you wouldn't answer the phone. But I found out it was turned off. But anyway, does anybody else want to speak, say anything at all? Who is Toby? Okay, I have heard your name so many times and never met you. And I've heard Jordan's name so many times and never met her until today. And it is so wonderful to finally put a face in front of a name. But Bobby always talked about y'all, always mentioned y'all. But yes, Alan. Sure, you come right ahead. You own the place. You can do what you want to do. That's not true. Your sons own it now. Oh, I'm not done yet. Sorry. You can have a seat. Cannot have a funeral without saying a Bible verse. If I can get this thing to work. Okay, I want to say this 23rd Psalm. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. And this is not the right. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me to the path of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, thou comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Bobby, I hope this is where you're at right now, listening to everybody, and this is all for you. And can I just get everybody to bow their heads for a second, please? Dear Heavenly Father, I'd just like to thank you for my dear friend Bobby. He was a blessing in my life. We had some good times, we had some bad times. We had some sad times, and we had some glad times. Lord, just please be with the family, with Diane, the grandkids. they're going to miss you, and everybody that had anything to do with you is going to miss you. But I'm glad you decided to accept Christ, and we know where you're at. And we just ask you to bless all these people as they leave here today. We ask this in your heavenly name, and God's people said, amen. Too many glasses. Usually I wear them like this. People always go, do you know you got 2 pair of glasses on? And I'm like, yeah. Okay, Mr. Allen.
I don't have a lot to say, but some things I'd like to share with you. You all know Bobby. You know him well. But I want to talk a little bit about, maybe from a different perspective, about the way that Don and I knew Bobby. Bobby was a brave soul. In the 80s, he decided he was going to go against the well-established businesses here in town, and he was going to open his own burial vault business. And that took a lot of courage. And that wasn't something that was an easy thing to do in those days. But he took it on and worked hard at it. He learned well the burial vault business. I don't think there's ever been anyone in the valley that knew it any better than his dad, Red. And to have seen Red and Bobby and Don, his brother, out working on a funeral was a sight. And some of the conversations that they had with each other were comical as well. But the things that you probably don't know about Bobby and his business were that a lot of times when no one else wanted to do the work, when no one else wanted to go to that country cemetery, Bobby was always the one that would do it. And there are an awful lot of people in this valley and in the counties around us that have loved ones buried where it was their last request because of the efforts of Bobby Kelley. And because he would take it on. And you knew that if he told you he was going to do it, it was going to be done, and it was going to be done right. And you never had to worry, because that's just the kind of guy he was. Bobby was a very generous individual as well. There were a lot of times when families didn't have a lot to work with, and it was Daddy's last request that Daddy be buried on the mountain, Bobby made it happen. He didn't get paid what he should have gotten paid for it. But there was a bigger picture with the way that he looked at it. He was helping somebody, and it made him feel so good to be able to do something for somebody else. Now, when I say Bobby was devoted to his work and meticulous about his work and always wanted things just so, his funeral's the same way. Barton, I wish I could tell you how many calls I've had in the last few years about his funeral.
He's told me about quite a few. And I asked him if it was driving you crazy.
My 10-year-old granddaughter knows what Bobby wanted in the way of a funeral. She's heard her father on the telephone enough to know what Bobby wanted. I want a white casket with white interior. I want you to take me to Bandy Cemetery. I want to be buried there. I want a Venetian burial vault. Now, Alan, you make sure you do this. Yes, sir, we'll take care of it. Now, Alan, you got to go over to Bandy Cemetery, and I want the space right beside Daddy now, or as he would say, Daddy. I want it right beside him, and you know where Mama is? Yeah, Bobby, I know. Well, that's where I want to be. Now, if you can't go there, you can go somewhere else in the cemetery, just close by, but that's what I want. Okay, Bobby. And a week later, it was, you know, Alan, I've thought about this a little bit, but I want to assure you that we are doing everything that we can to do this the way that Bobby asked us to do it. And I feel like it's an obligation that we have to him to honor him in this way because of what he did for so many hundreds of families in the valley, that he made it happen for their loved ones. There will never be another one like him. There will never be another person that will spend the time and take the effort to do what he did, to look after people. And usually when they tried to thank him for it, oh, it's no problem. We'll do it all the time. Do it all the time. But he really put his best foot forward and really looked after folks. And a lot of them, like I say, were able to honor their family's request because of his efforts. And I just wanted to take advantage of the situation and say that, because Bobby was a friend, and Bobby would call me, and he wouldn't call me Alan Simpson. He would always call Alvin Swinson. So from Alvin Swinson, I'm going to miss my friend, and we remember your hard work and the efforts and all that you've done for everybody. Thank you, Bobby. Thank you.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now am found. Was blind, but now I see. 'Twas grace that taught my heart to fear, and grace my fears relieved. How precious did that grace appear the hour I first believed. When we've been there 10,000 years, bright shining as the sun, we've no less days to sing God's praise than when we first begun. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now am found. Was blind, but now I see.
Anybody else have anything they'd like to say? Diane? Done? Said everybody to be. Okay, everybody hit it. They're gonna bury him tomorrow because they couldn't get the grave dug. So I guess this is everybody's. Yep. So I guess everybody dismissed. Okay. Thank you. If you ever need me, call me. You know my number. Okay. Thank everybody for coming. Bobby would appreciate it. He's probably got that middle finger sticking up on his chest like that right now. Thank y'all.